In 1985, Jiang Zemin became the mayor of Shanghai, so desperate to show off his political achievements, with so little regard to people. He managed to turn over to the central government tax revenue of 12.5 billion yuan in 1986, which was 50 times of that from Guangdong province. As a result, Shanghai experienced food basket crisis. While the rest of the country was happy to see, at last, an increase of supply of goods, the people of Shanghai were in such dire straits. They couldn't buy even the most basic essential items, and had to use ration cards for many of their purchases. Shanghai was the favorite winter retreat destination for some of the CCP elderly bosses, including Chen Yun and Li Shenian, who had control over the CCP Central Committee and the State Council, respectively. This fact gave Jiang Zemin many chances to curry favor with influential officials and move closer to fulfilling his political ambitions. The CCP Central Committee's top bosses, most have lifestyles quite corrupted from the beginning. They used to set up Jiangnan high-performing art troupes, brought in beautiful young ladies, and locked them up in there, for the enjoyment of Mao Zedong, Zhou Enlai, and others. At the time, almost all the highest-ranking officials were involved in extramarital affairs, Li Shenian being no exception. He had a mistress in Shanghai, with a background in nursing. Not only did she take good care of him, she also gave birth to a son. Although Deng Xiaoping was the core leader of the second generation, Chen Yun and Li Shenian constantly held him back as they struggled for power. Hu Yaobang's reform attempts upset the conservative camp very much. They had long wanted to get rid of him. But it was Deng Xiaoping who had stood in the way by sustaining Hu politically. After the student movement ended, Deng Xiaoping published his speech of December 30, 1986, called, "Take a clear-cut stand against bourgeois liberalization," opposing Hu Yaobang. Jiang Zemin read Deng Xiaoping's speech the day after it was published, and realized that Hu Yaobang's reformist idea and the CCP's conservative bent were incompatible. Deng's speech was, to him, pure treasure. He thought that at a critical time, such as then, it's imperative that he declare a completely identical stand as the Central Committee. Coincidentally, in the winter of that year, State Chairman Li Shenian came to Shanghai, and stayed in the guest house. Jiang Zemin intended to ask him the details about Hu Yaobang. But over dinner, Li Shenian told him that he was celebrating a birthday on that day. Jiang Zemin didn't care much of the people's food baskets, however, he had spared no effort in memorizing, by heart, each birthday of the senior members of the Central Committee. He was puzzled. Li Shenian was born on June 23, 1929, how come he was celebrating his birthday in the winter? Jiang Zemin finally realized, it must be the birthday of his mistress, or his son. He knew he had to do whatever it took to get a birthday gift to them. He found an excuse to get rid of his chauffeur, sneaked out to buy a large birthday cake. It was getting late at that point, but Jiang Zemin, without the slightest hesitation, headed back to the guest house. When Jiang Zemin reached the guest house, he was told that Li Shenian was attending to another guest. The guard, however, remembering Jiang Zemin, invited him in. Jiang Zemin shook his head though, and stood outside to wait. He was worried that others may discover what he was doing and follow suit. He wanted to be the only one who looked good. Thus he stood in the snow, cake in hand, for a full 4 hours. Finally, a disappointed Jiang Zemin left the cake with the guard, and returned home. When the guest finally left, the guard gave the cake to Li Shenian. He told Li that Jiang Zemin stood outside for several hours. His overcoat was covered with snow. Li Shenian was touched, and said, "Young Jiang, not a bad guy, there are not many people around like that nowadays." In 1987, Hu Yaobang was forced to step down. The CCP didn't want a man with a conscience like Hu Yaobang. Whoever speaks up for the common people, poses a threat to the CCP's autocratic control over the nation. The CCP leaders value instead people who fawn over them, engage in double dealings, and show a ruthlessness in suppressing dissidents. And they began considering Jiang Zemin for a higher position. After Hu Yaobang left office, Wei Xingwen, the party chief of Shanghai, who was always at loggerheads with Jiang Zemin, finally left. Zhao Ziyang appointed Wei Xingwen secretary of the Central Committee's secretariat, hoping to dissolve the conflict. He served as the party chief of Shanghai, not even a full term. While Jiang Zemin was busy showering senior CCP leaders with praise and flattery, Deng Xiaoping had to address the serious problems Jiang had caused in Shanghai. He had to quickly make the economic czar, Zhu, the mayor of Shanghai, in order to clean up Jiang Zemin's mess. Jiang Zemin was made Shanghai's party chief. Zhu was full of talents, capabilities, and charisma. Deng Xiaoping valued him very much. After Zhu became the mayor of Shanghai, his achievements and efforts won the hearts of people, which made Jiang Zemin full of jealousy and contempt. He seized every opportunity over all kinds of trivia to severely rebuke Zhu, making him to endure the humiliation. No matter how poor Jiang Zemin's performance in Shanghai, all the same, nothing prevented him from being promoted to the membership in the Politburo of the Central Committee, making him part of the CCP's highest organ of state power. In 1992, Zhu became a member of the Standing Committee of the Politburo of the Central Committee, China's highest group of leaders. In 1998, he was then appointed the fifth premier of China. By that time, the incompetent Jiang Zemin had been the general secretary, the state chairman, and the chairman of the Central Military Commission, for 9 years.